Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, my friends. Welcome back. Today I have another discussion with my good friend Jason Gooley. So we actually had a pretty long conversation the other day, and we decided to split it up into two different episodes because we had a more of a general conversation, kind of around leadership and things that how to prioritize different goals in your life and whatnot. So this show is going to be all about what we got going on our plates. We're going to talk a little about maybe what Jason's got going on his plate. So enough of me kind of setting the stage. Jason, thanks again for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you again for having me. Always a pleasure, man.
Yeah. This is fun stuff, right? So,
I love
so we have some time, right? So I think let's kind of cover down. I want to know, what are you up to? Because I know I'm going to officially say this. I got the first MetalDevOps swag at Cisco Live this year, a couple weeks ago. So I was the first to get everything, even though I did the thing wrong. I didn't do horns, right? I did that instead.
Yeah,
I
that's
didn't.
okay.
Yeah,
That's good.
I'm gonna learn, right? So, but how's MetalDevOps going? What's your vision for it? Let's start there.
So it's so awesome, and I'm so glad that we were able to sync up, and I got you all that stuff. And so the funny thing is, I guess we should start where it began, right?
Yeah.
I was doing this interview, and right prior to doing the interview, this was in Barcelona, Spain, in January, no, January or February. We're for Cisco Live Barcelona, and David Bombal was out there doing. He wanted to do an interview, and I was standing there. I was talking to Stuart Clark, and he was from DevNet. Stuart Clark from DevNet, or Big Evil Beard, if on Twitter. If you haven't followed him, you need to. He's a great
Guy.
person.
Do it.
And we're standing there talking, and David said, Jason, a lot of people are asking, where's your website, where's your blog, where's your YouTube channel, and I don't have one. And I kind of explained to him one of the things that I used to have a blog. And so I used to have a blog, and it was, don't laugh, it was Cisco CCIE.expert. Okay?
Perfect.
And the funny thing about that was, I've been working with learning at Cisco on the CCIEs since version 5 before I even started Cisco, so over 7 years ago now, working on all these different components to CCIE. And because of that, I had an NDA where I couldn't talk or blog about routing and switching. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, great. So I passed my service provider 2015. So I'm like, okay, I passed it 2015. I'm going to write a blog about my journey to service provider. Funny enough, some of the topics are very important to each other, right? So, all right, well, that's going to be my path, right? Well, at the same time, I became a social media ambassador for Cisco, which was awesome. So I was always active on social media. I've been for a long, long time. And I was tweeting for Cisco and doing a whole bunch of different stuff. And one day, I got a cease and desist letter from legal from Cisco. And I read this, I couldn't believe it. I read this letter and I'm like, oh my gosh, it says, you can't own a domain that says Cisco in it. You can't own a domain that says CCIE on it. You have to change your Twitter handle from @CCIE 38759 to something else. And any efforts to not do this would potentially lead to legal action. Wow. And I'm like, I work for Cisco. What? But I think I was so vocal with what I was doing, being a social media ambassador, that it drew some attention. A lot of that stuff could be automated too, as well, right?
Yep.
Exactly. But it made me think. And when I was going for my CCIE, everybody who was anybody who had a Twitter handle was @CCIE, whatever there was. And I was so excited one day to get there and I was like, oh, and I did it. I was like, oh, so happy. Even though nobody knew who the heck you were based on your number, I just felt like I was part of the club. I accomplished this. I was so excited. So when I got that, I was like, oh, I was so bummed out. Well, then I'm like, well, what am I going to do with my blog? I was thinking I could have bought a different domain.
Yeah.
And I could have migrated to everything, WordPress and all the stuff through a different domain. But it was so critical because legal sent you a letter that I'm like, I'm going to just shut it down, like right now, just shut it down. So I shut it down and I took all the references of that blog site off of all my social media and stuff, and changed my Twitter handle to at Jason_Gooley because I couldn't think of anything.
Yep.
I couldn't think of anything else that was cooler. So I just did that. So then I made everything at Jason_Gooley, and so I did that, and I never put the blog back up, and which was kind of a bummer because a lot of folks really reached out and said it helped them learn stuff. Like it was a lot of MPLS stuff, and it helped some folks. And I was excited about that, and so I took it down, and then one thing led to another, trying to have our children and the job roles changing and studying, and they just
You're
never
not
went back
busy.
yeah, not at all. It never went back up, and so I didn't really think about it until David said, where's your blog site, your YouTube channel, your website, and I said I don't have one, and he said, well, if you were to do something, what would you do? Okay, and we weren't recording. This was just me, him, and Stuart having a conversation. And Stuart's a big metalhead. If you didn't know that, we talk all the time about metal and guitar and Dimebag Darrell and all the Pantera and Metallica and Slayer and Megadeth and just all the big bands, the big four, and just we love music, And literally, I looked at Stuart and I looked back at David and I just go, MetalDevOps.
And it was born.
It was just like out of absolute nowhere, like so new and fresh that when he asked me, okay, well, what would it be about? I was like, metal and DevOps. Like, I don't know. Like, honestly, because I've been kicking around this idea in the past about doing something to build more community, right? Yeah. And I play a lot of guitar. I know a lot of folks in the music industry. I'm just fortunate enough to be that I could do that and do technology at the same time. And I've been kicking around these ideas of if I were to do something, I wanted to have something to do with music because I just love music, And so I just said MetalDevOps. And he goes, oh, what does that do? Tell. And I'm like, I have no idea, right? No idea. So then fast forward, like, I don't know, not that long after that, like
a couple months,
hour,
oh, okay.
not that.
No,
we moved from the DevNet zone over to the Learning at Cisco CCIE lounge that they had set up, where you could sit down in this place and get food, and next to the booth, and you go back there and get your cool seating, and it was quiet back there. So we went over there to do this interview, and he interviewed me, and he asked me about family and my kids and the books and all this, and he said, so what's this thing I hear about MetalDevOps? I'm like, and it kind of is like, well, I want to do something, around music and building a community, and then also talk about technology. And that was it. It was like, it was born right then. And I got done with that whole thing. And then I had went home and started thinking about that. I'm like, I had nothing prepared for this, nothing. And I got to thinking about it. I'm like, I have to get all the social media handles. I have to get the website. If I'm really going to do something, I have to go all in.
Yeah.
I have to do it fast before it becomes like,
sounds like
possible.
It sounds like you prioritized and you executed on something there.
It was just like all of a sudden, I'm like, and then I had all the social handles and Facebook and the YouTube channel and everything just boom, done. I bought the website, threw up a website. Like it just came out of nowhere, and it was just all organic, right? And I was fortunate that I called a couple friends of mine who are just really awesome in the music industry and are really cool folks. And I said, I've got this idea. I just want to run it by you and see what you think, And I said, I want to create a show that is metal themed because I love metal music. I love all music. I really do love all music. I do. But I'm super passionate about metal. And I'm like, I want to create the show that's revolving around metal music. And I want to have, instead of it being just, hey, everybody look at me, because again, I said, I'm not a hey, everybody look at me person. Instead of like, hey, everybody look at me playing some guitar or doing something. I'm sure there'll be some of that, it'll be fun, but it was more, I could take the show on the road and interview people, right? And talk about metal music and go to all these shows and have people over to the studio and play guitars and drums and just talk about all the stuff, and maybe we'll cover a song and it just kind of morphed this life of its own. And some of these folks reached out who are actually going to be guests on the show. Like, I'm not going to spoil anything yet, but basically reached out and said, We love the idea.
Nice.
And then the next question I had was like, do you love the idea enough to be on the show? And nobody said no.
Oh, that's awesome. Everyone said yes.
Mind, right? And they all said yes. And then I was like, do you love the idea to maybe sponsor the show?
That's the third question.
And it was nothing financial, right? And it kind of grew a life of its own. Like, I just want, if we're gonna do metal themed music stuff, I want to be able to give stuff away. Right? I want to be able to give shirts away.
Yeah.
All this other stuff. Now, I paid for out of pocket for all of that, right? You know, but that's the thing. Like, why, you know, if you see this microphone, I do a lot with Shure microphones. Everything in the entire studio is Shure. All the drum mic, everything is Shure. And so I called them, right? So they're actually investigating if they can sponsor the show.
Nice.
And they may not. They may not be transparent, right? But it was a non-monetary thing. I'm like, hey, can I give away some
microphones or T-shirts or something?
I don't know about actual equipment, but like, can I give away
a T-shirt?
Stuff? And Tama Drums is another one I've reached out to. I'm waiting on a response back. They may say, hey, go get bent, you know. But it may turn into something just to give away stuff for people who love music. And this is what I use. This is what I love. I'm passionate about. And then, you know, it kind of grew on a life of its own. And I was like, well, I want to do this kickoff thing at Cisco Live. And I didn't even know what a kickoff was. Like, I didn't even know what I was doing, really. It's just like, I'm going to kick it off. I recorded a video that said, I've got 100-something shirts. I had bumper stickers made and stickers made and laptop stickers and all this. I'm just going to give it away. And I'm bringing a guitar. We're going to jam. And, you know, that's it. We're going to give a bunch of stuff away. And if you like metal and you like DevOps or technology, come by. And I was fortunate enough and blessed that I do a lot of stuff with the Deadnet folks, and they have been nothing but kind to me, and Susie and her team, and Julio and Sylvia. Everybody's been fantastic to me over the years. And they gave me a spot to actually kick the show off in the DevNet zone.
Oh,
you know, there was a backpack challenge. They're like, come over here at the booth. We're gonna let you take over the booth, give stuff away, jam, and it literally just spawned a life of its own. And it was fantastic, right? And you know, I've still got some stuff coming for the episodes, but we hit our 100th follower, and I say we, and I mentioned this on another one. I say we because I want this to be a community. It's not the Jason Gooley show. It's we are building something here, right? And we hit the 100th follower, and it turns out the 100th follower lives 15 miles west of me, and I live in the middle of nowhere, like an hour and a half west of Chicago. Like I live out in the boonies, and the person who hit the 100th follower lives by me. I'm like, what? And I didn't meet him until I got to the last day of Cisco Live.
Wow!
When I met the person. It's crazy. Like, and then I'm driving to Cisco Live, and Rika, I got to call out Rika. 250. Rika was the 200. I had 249 followers for MetalDevOps for the show. Right before I got to Cisco Live, I shared a cab with her to the hotel to drop her off at the hotel and into my hotel, and she was 250. And it was just like, it's so cool, right? You build this community, like-minded folks, like you mentioned, who are passionate about stuff. And what I really wanted to focus on, even though it says MetalDevOps, okay, I do a lot of programmability stuff. I work with the DevNet folks, and practically, to be completely honest with you, practically the entire DevNet team is going to be on the show, right? Every single person I talked to was like all about like doing it, and they were like, sure, and it's just fun, and I just want it to be fun. I want it to be fun and entertaining, but also learning stuff. And they were like, well, what's the format going to be? And I'm like, well, metal music and technology, even though it's development and operations, there could be a lot to that. It could be one of the episodes might be maybe
potentially
how wireless is important to global bands, right?
Yeah.
Talking to these folks, right, about how wireless is important. That's relevant, right? But then the other thing I was thinking is like, well, how would I stitch together, a metal themed show and technology? So like, if we're talking about whatever, like Megadeth or something, how do I go from that directly to Docker containers? So what I finally thought of was...
There's no segue for that. Yeah. There's no segue for that.
So then I think it's going to be both, but then one episode will be metal themed, one episode will be technology themed.
That's
right?
cool. Yeah. Yeah.
But in the same sense, and it's rare, but you run into folks who can do both, right?
Yeah.
And those will be those crossover events like, I don't know if you watch any of the NCIS or any of the Chicago PD, Chicago Fire, Chicago Med stuff, like how they all cross over and these different shows
Yes.
like it's Metal DevOps, how it all kind of stitches together, and it'll be the capability of talking about both. And that's when I think is truly rare and special, and that, all these things kind of just took on a life of its own. And I think we're over 400 and something followers now at
Dude,
this
that's
point.
awesome.
And it's all about positivity, right? It really is. I mean, somebody tweeted a long time ago when I first created a handle, I think it was like March or something. I literally was at the end of March, I created that handle. It'll say like on Twitter when it was first created in March or something. Somebody said, there won't ever be any other type of DevOps, or like country DevOps or something like that, or pop music DevOps or pop DevOps. And somebody goes, ahem, from a handle that said punk DevOps. Created a handle called punk DevOps. And I looked at that, I was like, that is awesome, right? It's all about community, and what I thought long and hard. It was funny because there's a group of musicians that I'm friends with who are based out of Chicago, and they're in a Metallica tribute band.
Oh, nice.
They are endorsed by Metallica, open for Metallica on the Garage Inc. tour. For when they played all the covers, they basically had these guys come out. Their name is Battery. Battery came out and played all of the Metallica songs, right? And then Metallica came out and played all the cover songs like Turn a Page and all this stuff, right? And I've been friends with them since like early '98. I've been with the band as a production manager. I sing and play with them all the time. They're just true, genuinely awesome people, right? And they had some original music and stuff. And I'm like, I need a really cool, catchy riff. And I was recording all kinds of stuff here at the house and to do a cool, catchy riff for the show. But again, I don't want it to be the Jason Gooley show.
Yeah. I got you.
Showcase and help other people, right? So we went over there, and for 20 years, I've been listening to some of the original music, and there was this one song that just stuck out. And we're gonna have them on to do an episode and talk about it. But it's called Slow Speed.
Oh, nice.
And that's the Metal DevOps theme song. Dun, 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 dun. So I've been playing it with these guys for years, and finally I got over there. And I'm like, let's do something with that. So we recorded it. It was me on the guitar, a friend of mine, Lawrence Langley, on the drums, and my good buddy Phil M on the bass, Phil McLaughlin. And we just recorded it. And then I'm like, we need words, And I recorded a whole new set of words for the song for Metal DevOps, and it's just it hasn't been released yet because I got to re-record some of the stuff in pieces, but it's just talking about metal, and we tie it together with DevOps, and it just fits this whole thing, right? Community. And I was really struggling. I was sitting there, I'm like, I want a tagline. I need something that really sums up what is Metal DevOps. If somebody asks me, what is it other than metal and DevOps? And I kept saying community, 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 community. And what is important about DevOps and the programmability and skill sets that we need to use? It's talking about evolving, right?
Mm-hmm.
Evolving our skills.
Evolving, yeah.
So I just thought, well, community, evolving. And I'm like, involve and evolve. And it just hit me. Involve and evolve. That's the tagline for Metal DevOps. Building community, evolving our skill sets, learning stuff, having fun. That was it. So I just kind of kept going with it, right? And it wasn't, this is what I absolutely love and cherish about this whole experience of doing this is I'm not selling anything. I am not selling anything. There's nothing to sell. I am not selling one thing. I'm not selling myself. I'm not selling anything. It's let's talk about metal music and fun and exciting stuff and talk about technology. Right?
You're just having a good time, man. That's it.
We're having a good time.
Yep.
Two things I'm extremely passionate about, and let's let it.
Let's teach. Let's provide value to people.
Yeah, let's let it fly.
Yep.
Like Shure microphones, whether they sponsor or not, I really hope they do. But if they don't, it's not a Cisco thing. It's it's not. But it's technology,
mm-hmm.
and how that wireless and all these different things. How we look at wireless from a networking perspective is a little bit different than how they do on stage. but some of the very same concepts are very critically
That'll
important.
be interesting. So,
right? So it's going to be fun. It's going to be just fun and just looking at stuff from a different angle and having fun.
yeah.
And that's it. That's all it is. Nobody's selling anything. I'm not, trying to get consulting contracts. I don't do any of that stuff, right? It's just being me and having fun.
That's awesome. No, I'm all about it. And I've definitely followed you already. Do you want to just put a plug real quick where they can find MetalDevOps before we move on?
Great point. So MetalDevOps.com or at MetalDevOps on every social media platform.
Everything.
The only thing I don't have is a LinkedIn because, it's not I don't know. I have it on my LinkedIn, but I don't really have a separate LinkedIn for it. But and the thing is, it's right. I'm still getting better at Instagram and trying to figure out how to, because everybody consumes differently.
Mm-hmm. They do.
Very much so. I'm a big Twitter, LinkedIn guy. I live on those. But I'm starting to get better at Instagram. And the harder thing for me with Instagram is I have to do pointers to like the YouTube channel or to the website. So on the website, I have it where it pulls in all the YouTube channel videos right to the website. So you can just go to the website and get everything, right? And, the Instagram feed and all this other stuff. But I need to be able to get better at, putting out like shortcuts and blurbs on Instagram to bring it to haul it all back together and just to get, people to understand where to go. And
yeah, it's like full social media. I don't use Instagram either. I haven't looked at it yet. So my wife uses it and I don't know how to use it yet. So
yeah, I'm getting better at it. But I mean, that's the thing. Everything's a learning curve. And that's the other thing. It's like, it's doing it to just have fun. And if it can help people along the way,
that's a great
thing. Like some of the stuff like, people going for their, DevNet certifications or things like that might not think that wireless from a on-stage perspective makes any sense. But there will be stuff that does definitely appeal, right? And I think that's the cool thing. It's just, that's my method.
No, I think it's awesome, seriously. And
to the masses, right?
When you got your 250th follower, you didn't have any videos yet.
No, there was nothing.
Right? Like I want to make sure that I think you had like a, hey, I'm creating this type of video, right?
Yeah, and the video was like, the first video I ever had was like, I bought ribbons for the Cisco Live band.
That's what it was.
Before I even had a website, I bought these ribbons like, this is going to be cool. And of course, I bought the ones that are too big, so they were too wide.
They're a little too big. They're not that bad, though. Yeah, they're just a little.
Yeah, they were a little too big, but it was fun, right? And that was the video, was me opening these ribbons going, and it was just my hand in the ribbons. And it was just fun and exciting and doing something different to just spread the word of metal and technology. And that's why it's like DevOps came to mind, from just because I'm standing in a DevNet zone, we do all this stuff, right? But in the same sense, it was also like any technology kind of could fit into operations, right?
Yeah.
Almost any technology can fit into operations, and you can adapt how you might use development for a lot of that, right? You don't think that some things from a music perspective are automated. They are. There's a lot of stuff that's automated.
I think it's very open. Like you can do a whole bunch of stuff with it. And I think I actually think you're going to get a lot more people than you think that are network engineers and also metal fans.
Yeah.
I
hope so.
I think you're going to get a lot. I mean, I am, and I know probably 5 people in an industry that I wouldn't have thought of that are already.
Yeah.
And it's just bringing people together. So
that's it.
That
is the whole purpose, and to have fun. And the other thing I think is really cool and excites me is that I get to share information about music that I'm passionate about, people and actual talent like musicians and things like that, and different aspects of the industry, record label stuff and wireless and actual local bands and radio stations that you can listen to from all over the world. And just, if you don't know, again, it goes back to the last episode. If you don't know something, you don't know what you don't know. So check it out. It might be something you might like,
Exactly.
That's cool too. I mean, that's what makes it so beautiful is you might listen for the technology piece and maybe not the metal piece or vice versa.
Or both.
I love it. Or both.
Yeah.
Hopefully both.
Hopefully both. All right. So I'm going to move on to the next topic. Sorry to cut you off there. If I did, I wasn't necessarily intentional.
Yeah.
So we have some new books that you're working on. It sounds. That's what I heard. Heard a little rumor.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a couple, a few. Actually, there's a few. It's crazy. I can't believe I'm saying that. I remember when I wrote my first book, I told my wife, I will never write another book again. And then I started writing my second book. And it was almost like, I will never go for another CCIE again.
That's what I was saying.
And
Didn't you say that too?
CCIE. I'm like, then you hear some people like, I will never get another tattoo again. And then they're getting tattoos or something. Like it's just, I don't know what it is that just keeps drawing you.
I think you're addicted to it, maybe.
And that's the thing. It's like, it is a lot of work. And a lot of it is just more so, it goes back to that giving back. I remember when there was only those 3-4 books that had to help us through all this stuff, right? And especially in something as new and as important as programmability. And like the 2 programmability books, although oddly, one is called Programming and Automating Cisco Networks, so that totally makes sense, right? I mean, that's what it's named.
Yep.
So it's, kind of lines up. But the second book was the CCIE and CCDE Evolving Technology Study Guide. And if you thought about that, you wouldn't necessarily think of that being a programmability related book, okay? And what ended up happening with that book was that there was programmability in the evolving technologies. And I was toying with the idea of writing a second edition to the first book. And it didn't pan out the way we wanted to. So what I ended up doing is taking the updates that I wanted to put into that book, and I put it as the programmability chapter for evolving technologies. And it included DevNet, how to get started with all this stuff. And that's, if I can say anything, like again, you know me, I'm not a toot my own horn person, and I don't think I ever will be, But if I could say that I have a niche for anything, or if I feel like I have a strength to help somebody, it would be helping folks who have never, ever touched programmability or automation or any of that stuff, and just dipping their toe into getting started, right? It's taking the fear and complexity away from it, and then showing how to get started. And then from there, everything, your possibilities are endless, because here's an API. Here's how you spell API. Here is what API means, right? And just totally getting started, like literally, boom, 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 boom. Here's some really cool stuff, and here's how you interact with an API. And then here's how you do it with this tool. And well, guess what? Now we're moving on to a little bit of Python, and you explain some of that, and it's all congruent. It just flows. So the next thing you know, you're like, it's that same API. It's the same explanation through all these different pieces and components. So after we released that second book, another book came out is very timely. We're doing the CCNP Enterprise Core Certification Guide for Cisco Press.
Oh, okay.
Pretty important right
now.
A couple of weeks ago, couldn't talk about it, right?
Now you can.
Talk about it. Post Cisco Live, it's all over the place. We could talk about it. So we've been working on that for quite some time now. And I'm doing a lot of the programmability stuff as well. And it's important. So what we did was we started building on all these different concepts, and now diving through Python a little bit better. Again, intro stuff, right? If you're going for a CCNP, it's for Enterprise Core, you're not going to be a deep dive programmability wizard or expert. That's not the reason you're going for that, right? You'll learn the basics, get started, intro, and then now, because of the advent of all the new DevNet certifications, which is, I'm so excited about it. I've been working on that for a long time. Couldn't talk about that either. As I was also working with the Learning at Cisco team on this this whole new change in evolving of these certifications.
Yeah, so we got those 3 things, right? So we got the new books, we got the new certifications, and then we got the DevNet related stuff, right? We got the new certifications for the just route switch, CCNA, CCNP, and then we got the DevNet thing. So we got 3 different new things.
Yeah, well, and then that's the other thing. Things just kind of keep evolving, right? I use that word a lot, but it's like, so I'm working on the EN core book for CCNP, and I get this harebrained idea. And I actually had this idea about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago.
Wow, it's a long time.
To write an SDA book, or software-defined access book. And at the same time, I'm like, maybe we should talk about writing an SD-WAN book, Cisco SD-WAN. And I floated the idea a year and a half ago, and it was like, brilliant. Let's look into it. And I'm like, yes, we're going to do that. I got the proposal form already, got it all ready, and didn't do anything for a year. And
so how many books are you currently writing?
So, 3 new ones. 3 new ones. So what was funny is I sat on this thing for like a year and a half, and I'm like, I think about it again, because this is what I do on my day job. I work a lot with all the software-defined stuff and enterprise networking within Cisco. And reached back out and I said, "Has anybody put anything in on this yet?" Nope. Okay. Brrr. Put them both in, the same week. Well, they both got approved. Right? So I'm like, oh crud! Now I've got to write 2 more books, right? And it became like super real, super fast. And I was like, but I'm already working on this one. And I did this silly thing where I stacked all my first chapters having to be done on the same date. And I'm like, I felt my head was going to blow up. Talking about prioritizing stuff and knocking them down one at a time. I'm like, I'm gonna do 3 books at the same time. What was I thinking, right? So I've since fixed that, staggered some of that, and I've got some really cool authors who are going to be working with me on these projects. And so the new SD-WAN, Cisco SD-WAN, and Cisco Software Defined Access books will be coming as well, and we're fortunate to have those as well. And it just seems like it's never ending, but this is the stuff that I'm excited and passionate about, right? Yeah. This is what I do every day, and I feel like I'm always. It sounds really strange, and a lot of folks have told me this, that I feel like when they talk to me, they feel like I'm always bursting. Like I'm always like I have so much energy and excitement and stuff to share, and that I always have like this energy that helps people and inspires and excites people.
It's motivating. It's passionate. You're passionate, and it's motivating.
Yeah. So when I got that idea, I'm like, I'm going to turn it into something that's going to help people about these different technologies that are top of mind right now, and it just kind of happened. And so then that coupled with all the MetalDevOps stuff, I'm just like, oh my gosh, right? What am I doing? Oh man.
Well, and that's just the basic. No one knows that you have all these other things going on too, Yeah.
And normally you don't talk. I'm the kind of guy who doesn't, I wouldn't say anything. I'm like, the book's they got a ways to go before at least the SDA and SD-WAN come out. And normally you don't even talk about that because, you don't announce things like that until, in the past, I always waited until like, here's the cover art.
Yeah. Yep.
It's coming. But I noticed on Cisco Press, on their website that like the not evolving technologies, but the CCP Enterprise Core book is already announced. So I'm like, well, I guess I could talk about it. And then when at Cisco Live, I was talking to a lot of folks, and it sounds like, yeah, once you sign a contract, you can pretty much
do whatever
you want.
Yeah. It's
on you to write the thing. You say whatever you want. You're just kind of
you're the one at the hook on writing it.
Right? You're just kind of drawing more attention to the fact that you got a book to write.
So I've never written a book for Cisco Press, right? So let me say that. But my understanding is that this isn't your day job. Like you're not going to have a lot of time, if any, to do these writings in your day job. This is all after hours, working on the weekends at night, collaborating with other authors, doing the work. So just so everyone knows, like this isn't something that he's getting paid to do per se. This is all because he wants to give back to this community.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like going back into prioritizing things. It's because this all is going to have to take time away from my family and my friends and things like that. And I'm not going to be a multimillionaire writing books. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But that's not why I do it. I mean, that's not why I do it. I do it for the folks who need that, who want that reference, who have the quest to learn a little bit more and need to know where to even get started, right? And that's what I really love doing, is helping people on their way.
You can help one person. If you have one person, it's worth it. All that effort.
That's it, right? I mean, that's the thing, is if it helped you do whatever it may be, learn about a technology, or you might have read that book for some reason and it inspired you to do something completely different or learn a totally different technology. Like I've had people come up to me about the first book, the Programming and Automating Cisco Networks, that they started reading that book and then got into data center.
Right? Hey, but it helped them, right?
Cool. I love it. More power to you. And that's the thing. It's like, whatever it is that you need, that I hope I can contribute to in some.
And at least they're giving you the feedback though too, that your book led them down this path, right? So you can kind of get that feedback and be like, okay, I'm making a difference, right? I'm doing what I want to do. I'm providing value. I'm helping out the community with these things that I'm doing, and relatively doing it for free, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So,
yeah, and I just love doing it, right? And you probably saw a bunch of tweets out there where I'm like sitting at Starbucks again, drinking peach tranquility tea nonstop,
Running away.
banging away on the keyboard to get this book out. And that was the Enterprise Networking Core, the CCIP one that we couldn't talk about at the time.
Yep.
And that's why I just.
So is that your location of choice to write stuff?
It's so funny. It's so,
I gotta ask that because that's where I go.
It's so funny because in a way it is. In a way it is, and the reason being is, if I sit at home and it's quiet, especially at home, I can just be like, oh, there's one of my guitars. Oh, it sounds like the neighbor's doing something outside. Squirrel. But if I'm at Starbucks or a public place like that, and I put my earbuds in and listen to metal, the only purpose I am there is to do this.
Yep.
And what's so funny is I don't know anybody else there, so I have no reason to look up. I have no reason to talk to anybody else. I have no reason to go do anything other than order more tea and protein boxes or something, and just sit down and hammer away at it. And I think that has really helped me focus, and that's it's forcing myself to have those blinders to do that one priority till the next priority to the next priority, right?
Well, you're setting yourself up for success, because you're putting yourself in a space, right, that you're not going to get distracted. You're able to focus on that one task and knock it out. It might be so something like that isn't something that you're going to get done in an hour, right? It's very intensive. It's very detail oriented, and you got to stay focused. So I get it.
Very much.
It's so putting yourself in a space that you can do all those things. You're setting yourself up for extreme level of success. Whereas if you're home, like if I'm home, I got my Nintendo Switch, I got my Xbox, my son's here, it's summer vacation. I could easily be playing a game in 5 minutes.
Yeah, like I think I got to cut the grass.
I could go out. Well, I don't have grass yet, but okay. Yeah, I still have rocks outside.
But you got to go get the mail. I think that, it's always something
else, right? Go take the garbage out.
Yeah, and then if you you almost sequester yourself away into a point where you can only do what the task at hand, it really does help, right? And it's also kind of important for learning. When you're learning stuff like that, if you want to learn a specific technology, whatever it may be, if you can somehow force yourself into that zone, the whole reason I'm here is to
do this.
Click on BGP or something. You're going to learn BGP.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
you got to limit those distractions, right? So that's awesome stuff, though. So that's the new books. There's a lot of books, man. I'm feeling for you. It's like a glutton for punishment.
I'm getting a couple gray hairs in my goatee, so I have to keep trimming it down.
Yeah, no gray hairs up here, though, right?
No gray hairs up here.
Good.
But remember one time, I used to have all this hair. I used to have really, really long hair. I'm not even kidding. Somewhere maybe on one of these, I'll show a picture. And I used to have really long hair, and then I thought I was going to be professional and cut my hair, right? Yep. And do the short haircut. And then one day, my forehead started turning into a 5-head. And it just kept going. And I'm like, well, I think I could do the Bruce Willis, the Vin Diesel sort of thing,
Yep.
Okay. And then I started going this route, and fortunately enough, I don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice in the matter. You said you had long hair. I had a mohawk years ago.
Oh,
a nice high red mohawk. Yeah, man. Yeah.
We got to get some pictures of these haircuts.
And then I went in the military, and it went away. And I have like a 5. Like it's starting to go back, and I'm balding, man. I'm with you. I'm starting. I'm not all the way there, but it's happening. So
it has come on pretty quick, but that goes into the whole motif, I guess, right? So I can't fight it, so I might as well
embrace it, man. Embrace it.
Embrace it. Right?
Well,
embrace it.
I warned my wife that if it starts going any worse, I'm just going to shave all my hair off.
Yeah, and I did that once. I actually shaved it like all off, and I don't like it. I mean, I really don't like it because I love having my goatee and the delta between not having anything and it just didn't work for me.
Yep.
So I've got to have at least the Julius Caesar with my beard. Otherwise,
Julius Caesar, that's awesome.
Otherwise, it just doesn't flow for me. It's not it's not feng shui or whatever.
Yeah. So kind of, steering our ship here a little bit back on our agenda. I think we already kind of talked about the new certifications a little bit. Is there anything else you want to talk on that topic?
Yeah, I do want to point out on the DevNet certifications, though. So everybody from the DevNet team have been focusing and working hard to try to get those off the ground, and along with the Learning at Cisco team. And those, obviously, the two wouldn't have happened if there wasn't a great partnership there between the two areas. And what I think is so awesome and fascinating is, again, seeing the power of people coming together to make a change for the industry. And this is a big industry change. It's not just, these are huge certifications that have benefit to everyone going for them, as well as partners and showing differentiation between partners and customers. And it's fantastic. And what I thought was, I find myself truly blessed about is we get to work on building the blueprints, and we're going to be working on building all the content and the exams and study materials and all the stuff for that. And in addition to all the other stuff, yep, which is crazy. And I'm just blessed to be a part of it. And what is so cool is that one of the things I've noticed, and I can say this wholeheartedly, is, in part one here, we were talking about sometimes people having a big head or putting themselves on a pedestal or whatever it may be, and being not approachable. And there's not one of those people in the DevNet team. Yeah. There's not. And what is so cool about that is you literally walk up and talking like, I don't understand this, or I have a question, or I want to get started. Where's the best place to start? And anybody, whether it's Hank or Stuart or Adrian, and anybody, they'll give you everything you need. And they will say, well, here, let me show you. And that, I think, is so tremendously huge. And, one of the things that I like about how the ship is kind of steering towards that whole mixed certification realm too, and this goes back to what I was mentioning earlier, it's called, we're creating network developers. And what does that mean? And I've been quoted saying this a couple times, but I'm going to say it again and explain what I mean by that. And Susie even mentioned this on some of the keynote speeches at Cisco Live, and they're all recorded, so you can check them all out at CiscoLive.com. But traditionally, you're going for the CCNA, and it would talk about technologies such as networking fundamentals and all the things you need to know about that. And there would be about 20% or so that you'd have to learn of this programmability or automation or some of these new and improved technologies or techniques. And then there was never a flip side to that, right? There was nothing to assess yourself with. So now with DevNet having these certifications, like the DevNet Associate, for example, it's kind of a flip. 80% of that is being a software developer or learning coding skills. Or when I say software developer, again, it goes back to we're not creating video games. Excuse me. It's learning the techniques to automate the mundane and things like that, and then 20% fundamental networking, right? So I think that makes a huge difference, right? It really does. Excuse me. Yeah. And having that mixture, like the opposite side of the coin, so to speak, is tremendous. And what I really love is that you can get started relatively easily by just going to devnet.cisco.com, right? Or I'm sorry, developer.cisco.com, formerly known as devnet. Almost like formerly known as Prince,
So all I have to do is go to developer.cisco.com and I can figure it out.
That's it.
All right.
And you really learn quite a bit on that site. And I think it really does change the trajectory of how the industry is going to adopt some of these skill sets. It really is important. And I'm just, again, super happy to even be a part of it in any form of depth,
No, that's great. It's awesome. And it's, I think it's what we've been asking for the last couple of years. And I think finally we're catching up, right? The certification game's catching up. DevNet's a big deal of that, right? That's huge. This industry's already been doing this for a while. Do you know what I mean? Like, this isn't, it's not necessarily new. It's been doing it for probably the last 5 years or so, maybe a little bit more. And so the certifications being transitioned into that, I think it's a perfect match. And honestly, so I had a few people that I know make some comments. say like, Cisco Live is a big deal. It's usually where Cisco will make the biggest kind of announcements for the year, usually new products or new solutions or whatever, right? And then honestly, this year was the certifications updates and the changes. And then someone was kind of negative about it, saying that, here's a vendor or a company that's like supposed to be releasing new stuff, and their biggest announcement certifications. And the way I take this is totally different. Cisco's made the certifications a thing. Like, they're the ones that started this. I mean, we work at Cisco, right? But like, being higher level, saying vendor agnostic, right? Cisco started certifications to this caliber, this level of certification. So for them to announce it at Cisco Live, the change, and to blueprint or revolutionize the certifications that we have within Cisco to map to the industry, that is a huge announcement. Yeah. That's the biggest announcement they could have done.
And the funny thing is, so it wasn't just, there was a lot announced at Cisco Live this year. From a Cisco perspective, how automation is becoming key. A lot of the keynotes with David Geckler and some of the stuff that was highlighted about machine learning and AI and all these other acronyms that we have, right? That's crucial and critical. And I think the theme that you saw was, we have to going back to my favorite word, evolve. We have to evolve what we're doing and how we're doing it. And in order to build the skill set that you need to do that, let's talk about how all this stuff is going to relate the new certifications to the new workforce that's being created, right? And that to me is paramount to what's really going on in the industry. And it's one thing to the other thing I think is, let me even say this, I would say, is there's been a huge demand to simplify certifications, right? Mm-hmm. And not saying that our certifications weren't simple before, and you had the ability to go down all these paths. And I used to call it kind of, you would pick, what other disciplines that you wanted to go down, and you would go down those, and there was about 7 or 8 tracks, and you full-fledged, NA, NP, IE, or CCNA.
Yep,
CCNA,
exactly.
CCIE.
Yep. Go
down that path, and boom, you do what you want to do. And what I think has happened now is we simplified a lot of things with the new version certifications, bringing it down to a single CCNA, bringing some of the specialist pieces and components to the CCNP, and then the CCIE, as well as the DevNet certifications. What I think is really cool about that is I call it, you choose your own destiny. You can literally build the skill set and technology certification levels or credentials that you want to be, and take it to market, right?
Yep, exactly.
So you could be CCNP Enterprise Core, specializing in SD-WAN, DevNet Professional, specializing in automation or whatever it may be. You pick what you wanted to do, and then just go for it. And there's stuff out there that will help you along the way. And to me, I think that opens doors. It really does. I have to conform to this. You still have to go through whatever the exams are, sure, but I don't have to go through all of this in order to get here. And now being able to say I can just go for the NP without having to go for an NA. You always could do the IE without the NP or the NA, but now just be like, you just go get an NA, get an NA, or go get an NP and then focus on specializations and not have to go. It's truly representative of where you are in your journey, depending on how you want to build your credentials. And that's huge.
Well, pick your own journey, right? It's pick your own journey. Yeah, it's exactly what it is.
That's it.
And it's
exactly right.
It reminds me of, and I don't know, maybe I'm dating myself. There used to be these books when I was younger where it was like pick your own story type of book, right? You read a chapter, and then it's like, oh, if this is what you want to happen, go to this page. If it's back and forth, this is what it is. It's pick your own journey. What do you want to have happen? What is your goal, right? What is this? What do you want? You want to do this? Then go to the right and do this. Or if you want to do that, go to the left and do that, right? So, I think it's outstanding. And if I mentioned that, so I might have been quoting a tweet out of context a little bit earlier. So there was a tweet about Cisco Live, and that the only big announcements was the certification changes. And I was just trying to say that even if it was, right, even if that was the only announcement, it was the right announcement, right? But there was so many more announcements this year at Cisco Live with all the different programmability things and DevNet and the products. There are a lot of products that got announced too. So, so I think the next thing we had on the list, if I'm not cutting you off, was personal projects. Unless I'm skipping anything.
No, and feel free to cut me off. From a personal perspective, there's some growth things that I've been kind of looking into on my own. But it always comes down to time and prioritization and things like that.
Yep.
I'm learning music theory.
Oh, really?
So, which is really interesting because I've been playing the guitar for 20 years. I'm not the best at it, but I've been playing the guitar for a long time. But there was, it's like you're going through the motions, right? I can play the guitar, I can pick stuff up by ear, I can learn by reading like tablature and things like that, but I don't know why I'm playing what I'm playing structurally.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I can play it. Here's a Megadeth song, here's a Metallica song, here's, whatever, some other type of music, and it really didn't, you don't know why you're doing it. But there's a theory behind it of why these things connect. And to me, that's always been fascinating. And I started getting into that because I started recording my own music. I mean, I don't have like songs and stuff like that, but I come up with these awesome riffs, and I have these lyrics and things I'm putting together, but I didn't know enough about theory to, when I'm recording it, how to click stuff together to make it line up, And I started learning and taking lessons. So it started off where I was taking guitar lessons, and then I really I had these drums that were sitting there, and I could keep a beat, but I didn't know what I was doing. So then I started taking drum lessons, and it was so interesting because the drum lessons, I'm fortunate and blessed that I have some really cool friends of mine who were helping me with these drum lessons, and they really tie into theory, timing, and all this other stuff. And once you learn timing and structure, how when you're recording songs, where the breaks are and how they need to click together, and all this other stuff that I didn't know. And after I kind of put a pin in the CCDE with the children and everything, I picked up music theory, and I started learning music theory and stuff like that. And it just captured me, man. It's something I've wanted to learn for a long time, and that's my focus. Is I want to do some of these things that I think are just interesting, and there's nothing to do with technology, but it's something that I absolutely love, and it's just like, it's like one thing after another. Like I used to build houses and do all kinds of different stuff. My background is just all over the board. It's crazy, wild, weird things. And, I started doing all these different things in construction. And then, my daughter wants like a dollhouse. And then I'm working on building some stuff like that, and just doing, getting into different crafts like woodworking and things that I made a pen. Like, this is so funny. I made a pen the other day. And I don't know, you can barely see it, but
Yeah.
the pen, and it's kind of cool, and it has like this little thing that slides right here, and then it it's
You made that?
It's cool. I made it. There's a little kit you can get, and then I made this other little wooden one. It's cool, right?
Yeah.
And I bought my dad was always in woodworking, and I was in woodworking in high school and stuff like that, and I have everything to do it, but I just never had time. And what I've noticed is there are times where you need to find something to do that just completely takes your mind off of the rat race, the hamster wheel that you're on with everything else.
Yes.
And I find when I'm doing music or I'm doing woodworking or something like that, guess what I'm not thinking about? How I got to structure chapters and build training and record videos and do all the stuff that I have to do, because it's truly like relaxing to me. And it's interesting. You find something that other people would think like, that's crazy. You want to write music and do all this other stuff. It's like a full-time hobby to some folks, and that's my escape. And manual stuff. I love building things. So like in the garage, I've got this garage that's back there that I need to put like insulation in and do all of the sheeting and the wood and all the stuff, because there isn't anything in there, and I love working on that stuff, right? So to me, I can do that. I'll throw on some music, and I'll go out there for a whole weekend, and I'll bang that out, and I'll just have fun, and I'm stapling and hammering stuff, and to me, that's relaxing.
I want to get into woodworking. I've never done it before. I want to get into woodworking. I did do music theory
and woodworking.
Yeah. I did do music theory in high school and college. I was big into music. Didn't play the guitar that much, only a little. I'm not very good at all. You say you're not good. You are light years better than me, sir. You are light years better than me. I played the trombone for years, and I was in like all state, all choir, all that kind of stuff. Just a real round choir boy, nerdy guy, But I did music theory. It was awesome. What?
What happened to the choir boy?
I don't know.
I see the horns popping up.
We're in the Marine Corps and everything changed. But no, I think the personal projects kind of ground you, right? Like that's how I look at it. And like, it's for me right now, I love to work out. I just don't work out enough. And you were saying, how do you disconnect? How can you clear your mind? And for me, working out is that, right? If I can focus on working out for 30 minutes or an hour a day, I fully can clear my mind. I have a hard time though, because priorities do come up most days where I'm like stuck saying, okay, I gotta get this done. I got to get this done. And then before I know it, it doesn't happen, you know? So, you know, for me, I most times I want to get that done early in the day. It's my time. It's my kind of way to let go a little bit, you know? So,
yeah. Well, you know, the funny thing you say that is we were talking about like groups and community and studying and stuff like that. One of the things that I noticed, like for me, physical fitness, I was really trying. My parents weren't always so healthy. I lost my mom, you know, back in 2003, so quite a long time ago, to things of complications of diabetes and things like that. And it was always something that concerned me. Like I didn't want to get there. My dad has similar issues, and having kids was like, well, I've got to start changing some stuff to make sure that they don't ever have that impact, and hopefully we live by example and that they don't go down the same path, right? So part of that was working out and going to the gym, and I've been doing it for quite a few years and exercising. I've been in martial arts my whole life.
oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I've been in Shotokan karate for most of my life, but then I was doing Kempo karate for a long time,
Wow.
and Kubido, which was Japanese weapons. And I've been doing stuff for a very long time, and we had our son, so I put a pin in it for about a year because I just didn't have time to go back. And I joined this gym. Actually, it's so cool. They opened a gym that's a 24-hour gym that is literally like a 16th of a mile behind my house. It's right there, right? I mean,
You can
right
see
there.
it.
And I was still driving 45 minutes to the gym the other direction. And finally, I'm like, man, by the time I get there, I work out for a half hour or something because I got to get on a call. And then I got to drive another 45 minutes back. And I'm like, it's killing me. I come over here, I could work out for almost 2 hours compared to, you know, the time it took me there. So I joined this gym, and they don't call them classes. They have group therapy sessions.
Oh,
which I thought was kind of funny.
That's
like,
cool.
You're thinking like group therapy. They call them group therapy, and you do whatever. There's something called base, burn, and build. And each day it's different, right? And you go multiple times a week, and you do these group trainings for an hour. And burn is literally what you think. You're going to burn. You're burning calories. You're sweating it out. Build is you're trying to build muscle and do that. And then base is just kind of getting the foundations of how to do all these different things together, right? And I had this, speaking of going back to technology, they have this sensor you can get that goes around your chest, and it has this little sensor that tells you your heart rates and all this other stuff and calories burnt, and it's a lot more accurate than a lot of these other technologies out there. And you put it on, and it puts your name and face on a screen that everybody in the entire gym can see, right? You're no running around. If it says that you're doing 54% of what you're supposed to be doing, guess what? Everybody else knows that you're slacking. Right?
Wow.
So
That is so awesome.
I started doing these group things, and next thing you know, I'm like, in 45 minutes to an hour, I'm burning like 1,200 calories.
Wow.
Right? That's insane. Like, it's insane. So I started doing this, and 2 times a week, 3 times a week. I mean, I'm down almost. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm down almost 15 pounds in 2 months.
Nice. That's awesome, man.
2 months, and just
Wow.
by doing this, right? I feel fantastic, right? I feel unbelievable. And what it is that I think makes it so electric and pulling you back in is doing it with other folks. It's a group.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like you're in a community. The other people on that screen are people who are going through the same thing as you are, and then you're working out together, and you're achieving together, you're accomplishing together. And I never had that approach for anything like exercise or anything like that. I'm like, yeah, just go to the gym, you run through the motions, you go home, and that has changed the way I look at interacting and exercise, and that has changed my life, I think, as well. So find an exercise partner if you don't have one. It just really does work.
Well, so when I was in, I was in the Marine Corps, and when I was in the Marine Corps, I was already in the Marine Corps. The way I say things isn't always right. So when I was in the Marine Corps, we would PT together as a group, as a platoon, And it was awesome, right? Because, and you also hated it. So don't, there was a love-hate relationship with it, but like you PT'd together every morning and you worked out, and there was like, a bond, there's a rivalry because, if you got the most push-ups, you got the most pull-ups, it was this thing, right? And we PT'd 3 times a day, most days, a lot, right? So we would go to do like platoon PT in the morning, marathon running at lunch. Yes, marathon running at lunch. And then at the afternoon, we would go do weights in the gym, right? We'd go do, bench and whatever else we were doing, lifts or whatever. And so we were just doing so many workouts. It was awesome. All as a group, all as the bond there, doing it together, keeping each other honest and motivating each other. And then getting out of the military, it's like, oh, I forgot all about working out, And so like, I have an elliptical in my basement that I will use a lot, but you have to mentally make yourself do it, right? And then I have a push-up bar and a pull-up bar, and you have to mentally make yourself do it. I have it in my office, but yet
I probably haven't done a pull-up in 20 years. Man.
Oh,
I don't even know if I could do a pull-up.
I can't
right
now. There's no.
It's funny, right? It's one of those things that you don't realize how far out of it you are until you go to do it. Now, so martial arts, for example, right? 30. Oh my gosh. 30 years in martial arts. Holy crud. 30 years in martial arts. And you don't forget, instinct takes over on a lot of different things, but your body will tell you exactly how out of shape you are right when you decide you want to start practicing. And it just really does make a huge difference. Like all of a sudden, like I don't remember having that muscle. It hurts in ways that I haven't felt ever. And it's just because you have to reinvigorate yourself and get used to that. And I think, as with anything else, right? I mean, we're talking about wellness and keeping yourself going and sustained, and it helps with learning and life and everything else. And and that's the other thing that, like, it's very taboo to talk about, but it's depression and like mental health and things like that, right? Nobody talks about it. And especially in music, right? I mean, you talk about music, you think about some of the greatest of the greatest of the best of the best struggling with mental health issues and not being with us anymore, right? And you can have the best things in the world possibly going for you, but sometimes you feel alienated and alone, right? And one of the things that I do is I try my best to I put my feelings on my sleeve, and I just talk to people, everybody. Not to help other people, but although I do like to help other people, but to just make sure it's a two-way street, right?
Yep.
You read all these books and do all that stuff, but if I'm sitting down here in the basement, like, man, I just I can't do anymore. I've got to get out and see my family, or the sunlight.
The sunlight, what's the sunlight?
Just got to get outside. Sometimes that stuff creeps up, and it is such a taboo subject to talk about. But the truth of the matter is, everybody at some point, one way or another, has a little negativity that comes their way.
Oh, yeah.
And especially in technology, when you're talking about certifications, that whole failing concept, right, that nobody wants to talk about, and that you do get knocked down, right? I mean, I failed. Everybody I know failed. And the people who don't fail or haven't failed yet is basically what's going to boil down to. It's like, they should ride motorcycles.
Yeah.
Awesome Harley. I had this great Harley. I loved it. It was a '07 night train. It was just, it was black on black. It was just awesome, disgusting. And there's two types of motorcycle riders, right? I mean, it's the ones who've went down and the ones who unfortunately will.
And yeah,
right.
Yep.
And I was so close. I was so close too many times to just not making it home for reasons that were not my own. Gravel on the road, oil on the road, car almost sideswiping you, whatever it may be. Not hot rodding, doing wheelies, or doing wheelie on a Harley is probably not the best idea anyway. But all these different things, unbeknownst to you, you were that close, right? You were just that close. Yep. And so we had our daughter. I got rid of the bike and things like that. And it's just, it goes back to that mindset. There's the people who have done it already, or the people who haven't done it yet. And that goes for almost everything in life, right? And what I love to do is when I talk about, and this might be another thing we talk about in another episode, but I just love to make it known that nobody's perfect.
Nope.
Nobody's perfect, no matter how perfect their social media presence is, or how edited their videos are, or whatever it may be. Nobody's perfect, and it's okay, because that's what makes us human, and that's what makes us so valuable and important. So
Exactly.
um,
You got
with
it,
that,
man.
dude,
Hey, we've
thank
been
you.
talking for a while today. I just got to say thank you, man. This has been great. I've actually enjoyed this more than I think anyone else will. I don't know. Maybe people will enjoy it too more than I have. But man, this has been great. We just spent over 2 hours talking today.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me.
Yeah. I mean, we should cross launch it, man.
Yeah,
I don't. Well, it's
do it.
not. There's no MetalDevOps in it though. There's no
There is now.
Well, there is now, but like, there's no.
Okay.
It's up to you. We'll work it out afterwards. But I'm gonna wrap this up, I guess. Hey, thanks everyone for listening and watching and consuming. This is all for you. It's not for us. This is nothing that we do is for us. This is all for you guys, you nerds, geeks, and I like to call them ziglets out there. So just throw that out.
Well, the funny thing is, it is a little bit for us, because I enjoy talking, especially to you. I mean, I enjoy talking to you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things that, and I don't mean like I just love everybody listening to me talk, but I love being a help in any mechanism I can, right? And it helps me to talk to you.
Yeah,
Right?
vice versa.
Yeah, if I want to go down, that path again for design or anything or life or whatever it may be, it never hurts to make a connection. And
Exactly.
if I could drop one piece of advice, as the last thing I'm going to say on this call, would be that accept the requests. As long as nobody's trying to sell you anything, accept the request and have the conversation.
Have the conversation.
Say hello.
Yep.
And you'll be so surprised sometimes as to who you'll meet. And if it goes the other way,
So
you
what?
always have a story.
Yeah,
have a
exactly.
story.
You have a good story to tell in 10 years,
Yeah.
5 years, or whatever. Well, we're gonna wrap it up. Jason, thanks again, man. Is there any last minute words, comments, concerns, questions, anything you want to say?
Other than thank you for having me on, and thanks for everyone who's going to listen to this, and hopefully it helps in some way, shape, or form. And I guess to let you know if this was useful, and then maybe we'll do it again.
Yeah, for sure. How about where do you live on the internet? Let's start there.
So yeah. LinkedIn is Jason_Gooley. Twitter is @Jason_Gooley. Instagram @Jason_Gooley, and then @MetalDevOps on everything, and then MetalDevOps.com for that show. And I guess it's where I don't live on the internet, I guess.
Yeah, right. Well, it's a loaded question, right? It's like I'm expecting a whole big response, which you had. So, I will have all that in the show notes and also the description on YouTube. If anyone wants to reach out, give us some feedback, that'd be great. We're just putting this content out there for you guys to consume. Thanks again. Really appreciate it. Everyone have a great day. Thanks.